Imagine looking at a digital screen and watching a number grow. 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, $500 million. For the thousands of investors staring at their computer monitors, this wasn't just a number, it was the future of wealth. It was the promise of a digital gold rush, powered by an unstoppable tech giant that claimed to own massive, state-of-the-art supercomputers running day and night in the frozen landscapes of Europe. On Wall Street, elite investors and everyday people alike were desperate to throw their life savings at this company. It looked perfect. The website was flawless. The user dashboards showed real-time profits ticking upward second by second. But if you were to fly to the remote location where these massive computer warehouses supposedly stood, walk past the security gates, and open the heavy steel doors, you wouldn't find a revolutionary tech empire. You would find an empty, silent room. This is the story of a phantom empire built entirely out of pixels, code, and pure human greed. This is the story of how two brilliant tech entrepreneurs created a fake tech company that completely fooled the modern financial world. To understand how a scam of this scale is even possible, you have to understand the human psychology behind a gold rush. When a new technology emerges, a strange blindness takes over the financial world. The fear of missing out, what people call FOMO, becomes stronger than basic common sense. People stop asking for proof because they are terrified that if they wait to double-check the facts, someone else will get rich instead of them. The architects of this illusion understood this flaw in human nature perfectly. They didn't just build a fake company. They built a mirror that reflected exactly what desperate investors wanted to see. The plan was brilliant in its simplicity. The creators launched an online platform that promised to let everyday people lease a piece of a massive cryptocurrency mining operation. In the real world, mining digital currency requires thousands of highly specialized, incredibly expensive computer servers that consume massive amounts of electricity to solve complex mathematical puzzles. For the average person, setting up one of these facilities is impossible because the hardware costs thousands of dollars and the electrical bills alone can destroy a household budget. The fake company offered a beautiful solution. You give us your cash, and we will let you remotely rent our giant supercomputers. We do all the hard work. We maintain the machinery in our high-tech facilities. And you sit back and watch the profits stream directly into your digital wallet. The trap was set, and the bait was irresistible. The initial wave of investors put in a few $100s just to test the waters. What happened next is what made the trap snap shut. When these investors logged into their accounts the next day, they saw exactly what they had been promised. The digital dashboard showed their money growing. They could see graphs tracking their daily earnings. They could click a button and withdraw a small amount of real cash back into their bank accounts. It felt completely real because the interface mimicked the exact features of a premium global banking app. This was the critical phase of the deception, the illusion of early success. When people think they have discovered a secret way to make easy money, they don't keep it to themselves. They tell their parents. They text their friends. They post about it on social media. Word of mouth spread like wildfire. And within months, the small stream of money turning into the company became a roaring river of cash. Hundreds of thousands of people from all over the globe were logging in every single hour, watching their digital fortunes expand on a screen. But how do you keep a multi-million-dollar tech company completely fake without anyone noticing? This is where the technical blueprint of the scam becomes truly terrifying. The entire operation relied on a sophisticated piece of visual theater. When an investor logged into the platform and saw a complex graph showing data logs, electricity consumption statistics, and mining rewards, they assumed they were looking at a live window into a real data center. In reality, they were looking at a closed loop. The creators had coded the website's backend to generate simulated data. It was essentially a video game interface designed to look like a financial banking system. The numbers didn't come from supercomputers solving equations. They came from a simple mathematical formula written by the creators that automatically added a specific percentage to the user's balance every 24 hours. To keep the scam alive, the creators had to run a highly sophisticated Ponzi scheme. A Ponzi scheme is a classic financial fraud where the operators pay returns to older investors using the fresh cash brought in by brand new investors, rather than from any actual profit earned by a real business. The money coming in from new investors wasn't being used to buy high-tech servers or expand data facilities. Instead, the cash was immediately split into two different directions. The first portion was used to pay out the small withdrawal requests of early users. This is what kept the public completely blind to the truth. As long as a user could withdraw $50 whenever they wanted, they would happily leave their remaining $10,000 inside the platform to keep growing. The second, much larger portion of the money was quietly funneled out of the company through a complex web of shell companies and secret bank accounts, entirely hidden from regulatory sight. As the months turned into years, the scale of the company grew too large to remain hidden in the corners of the internet. Wall Street took notice. Big money investors, venture capitalists, and high-rolling hedge funds, seeing the massive user base and the staggering amount of capital flowing through the platform, wanted a piece of the action. Institutional capital, meaning the massive pools of money managed by professional investment firms and banks, started flowing into the phantom company. This was the ultimate test for the illusion. If a major financial institution conducted a deep audit, the whole house of cards would collapse. To fool the professionals, the creators escalated their game. They used the stolen millions to construct a hyper-professional corporate facade. They hired elite public relations firms to write glowing press releases. They paid for massive advertising campaigns in major financial districts, plastering their logo on billboards across Times Square. They wore tailored suits, spoke at exclusive tech conferences, and used complex industry jargon like decentralized algorithmic scaling and optimized thermodynamic cooling arrays to confuse anyone who tried to ask deep, structural questions about their hardware architecture. When financial analysts asked to see the physical data centers, the creators always had a seamless excuse ready. They claimed the locations had to remain entirely classified due to extreme competitive security risks, high-voltage electrical hazards, or strict international data privacy laws. And because Wall Street was making money alongside everyone else, the analysts chose to accept the excuses rather than risk stopping the money machine. The wealth generated by this digital ghost ship was staggering. The creators were no longer just tech entrepreneurs. They were living like international royalty. They bought entire fleets of ultra-luxury sports cars, including custom Lamborghinis and rare Ferraris. They purchased sprawling real estate empires in exclusive European cities, buying up penthouses and private villas that were guarded by elite security teams. They flew on private jets, stayed in 5-star penthouse suites, and draped themselves in custom jewelry, all funded by the life savings of everyday people who believed they were investing in the infrastructure of tomorrow. Parents invested their children's college funds. Retirees handed over their entire nest eggs, believing the digital assurances of the sleek website. Working-class families took out second mortgages on their homes, completely convinced by the beautiful, ticking numbers on their phone screens. But a phantom cannot run forever. The structural flaw of every illusion is that it requires an endless supply of new believers to sustain it. Eventually, the global market began to shift. The broader financial ecosystem experienced a sudden downturn, and panic began to ripple through the investment community. It started small. A few large-scale institutional investors decided they wanted to mitigate their risks, so they attempted to withdraw massive multi-million-dollar sums from their accounts, all at once. This was the moment the system broke. Because the physical computers did not exist, there was no real economic engine generating wealth. The actual cash had already been spent on luxury cars, private jets, and offshore real estate. When the company tried to use the money from new sign-ups to cover these massive simultaneous withdrawal requests, they realized the math no longer worked. The inflows of new cash were suddenly vastly smaller than the massive demands for withdrawals. The exit doors were too small for the crowd trying to rush through them. To buy time, the creators adjusted the platform's code. Suddenly, users attempting to withdraw their funds were met with strange error messages. The website claimed there were temporary technical glitches, unscheduled server maintenance, or new regulatory compliance checks that required accounts to be frozen for 48 hours. For a few days, these excuses worked to keep the panic at bay. But as the hours ticked by and the digital wallets remained locked, the whispers of worry turned into loud cries of panic. Online forums and social media channels erupted with terrified users realizing they could no longer access their money. The final collapse happened with brutal velocity. Realizing the game was completely over, the creators made a desperate attempt to erase their tracks. In the dead of night, the website went completely dark. The sleek user dashboards, the beautiful data graphs, and the millions of dollars in digital balances vanished from the internet, as if they had never existed. The customer support lines disconnected. The luxury corporate offices were found completely abandoned, leaving behind nothing but empty desks, shattered glass, and disconnected wires. The shockwave hit Wall Street and the global investment community with devastating force. International law enforcement agencies, including the FBI and specialized cybercrimes units, launched a massive, coordinated manhunt spanning multiple continents to track down the missing hundreds of millions of dollars. They began tracing the digital footprint of the stolen funds, digging through the layers of offshore bank accounts in tax havens to find where the physical cash had been hidden. When cyber forensic investigators finally unraveled the technical architecture of the platform, the absolute truth left the financial world completely paralyzed with embarrassment. There were no secret high-tech facilities. There was no revolutionary software breakthrough. There was only a beautifully designed web page and a mathematical loop that fed on human trust. The creators were eventually captured in a dramatic international sting operation, arrested in their luxury hideouts surrounded by the remnants of their stolen fortune. They were found with millions in undeclared cash, fake passports, and encrypted hard drives containing the remnants of the fake platform's code. As they were led away in handcuffs to face decades in a federal prison, the thousands of victims were left to stare at empty, broken links on their computer screens, trying to comprehend how an empire that felt so real could dissolve into absolute nothingness. The digital screens we look at every single day hold immense power over our lives. They can show us a world of endless possibility, incredible progress, and unimaginable wealth. But this historic deception serves as a chilling reminder that in the modern world of high finance and viral technology, a line of code can be twisted into the ultimate weapon of deception. We are so eager to believe in a bright, effortless future that we easily forget the oldest, most immutable law of human survival. The most dangerous illusions are always the ones we desperately want to be true.